So Baruch Hashem, as you see, I have the very special privilege today of having two very choshev guests. My dear friend for many, many years, Rabbi Gottesman, was my shutuf in a Butzes Torah for the Yarchei Kallah. So we have this unique privilege. Should I try to connect? I just got a link.
Yes.
No. Why do they ask me for this? Okay, here we go.
Hello?
No.
Did we send the right link?
No, they ask me for details. No, not the right link.
Hello. Yes.
At least we have the backup, your computer, but it's not the right link.
I'm on a Zoom show. I'll call me back in about an hour, please. Thank you. Thank you.
We didn't get the
It's very hard.
Everyone should please mute. Please mute. Rabbi Snyder, please mute.
One second. First thing I need to get is to get the right link. Because we'd rather his bandwidth is stronger than mine. Pesach, you there?
I sent one too.
What?
I sent a link too.
You said the right one?
I sent what Rabbi Shapiro sent me last week.
Okay, just a minute. I got another one. Let's see whether this will be better. No, it's not what I usually do.
Same problem we have as we used to have.
Probably. Join meeting. Are they sending me a link as a panelist or whatever?
They're sending you a link as a panelist. Does Rabbi have to do anything besides to click on?
No, it's not working. Oh, okay, maybe this one. No.
Yeah, it could be that one. I'll go back to this one second. Let me
This
see.
month. I think it's going to work now. Okay. Okay, here we are.
Yes.
So,
This link works.
Let's go on mute here, everybody.
Okay.
Oh, I see I'm the problem.
Rabbi Gottesman, the Rav has to mute too, because otherwise we hear.
No. The Rav can't mute. I'm going to have to mute. Yeah, I'm muted.
Go off, Rabbi Gottesman.
I'm muted. Okay, let's try it now.
We hear the feedback. Rabbi Gottesman, turn off your audio, please. Rabbi Weiss is on mute.
Do you see me and hear me?
Yes, Rabbi, we see the Rabbi perfectly. Thank you.
And the sound is good?
Baruch Hashem, perfect.
Okay, so I have the privilege and the simcha of having two very wonderful guests, actually three and not two. So around my table is sitting my shutuf in this great endeavor of our Butzes Torah. We are partners in Torah Reb Shlomo every week, and this time we're sitting, not only seeing each other virtually from 10,000 miles away, but right next to each other in my home. So it's a simcha. And Meir Fruchter, our dear friend, is sitting on my right, and his son-in-law seems to be a wonderful younger man. What's your name?
Moshe Eisen.
Moshe Eisen. So we have very choshev guests around here. So today, Shir is dedicated L'ilui Nishmas Soranecha Bas Yosef Moshe. The first Yarchei is this upcoming Shabbos, dedicated by the family. And the second Hagdasha, could I have it on my screen? HaRav Yisrael Moshe Smith, sponsor the Shir L'ilui Nishmas HaRav Avram Ben Yosef Lopez Cardoso. Seems to be a Sephardi family. And the Torah we learned today should be dedicated to L'ilui Nishmas, and there should be Melitza Yosher for the respective, wonderful, beautiful families. And number 3, which I see on the screen now, the Shapiro and Weiss families. Their grandfather, the Rabbi Menashe Yankov, was an Av Bezdin in Kroka. At what stage was he an Av Bezdin? That's very interesting, probably leading up to the Holocaust, because he passed away Tovshin Chavav. So he as well should be a Meretz Yosha for the beautiful Shapiro and Weiss families, and we should all share Divrei Torah b'simcha u'b'tov leivav. So today's shir is a Maleches Mechatech, somewhat associated to the shir I gave 2 weeks ago on Korea. And when we spoke about Korea, we also briefly mentioned Mechatech. But Mechatech is unique. It stands apart from all the other Maleches in a very fundamental way. What is Maleches Mechatech? So the Rambam clearly defines what is the Av Malach of Mechatech. Where was Mechatech in the Mishkan? The oiros that we use to cover the Mishkan. That is Mechatech. They need to cut the hide, cut the skin of the animals to the exact measurements to fit the Mishkan. And that is Maleches Mechatech. And that is why the Rambam, Perek Yud Aleph Halacha Zayin, in Hilchos Shabbos writes, HaMechatech min ha'or, kedei la'asos k'mei ha'chaya.
One second, we have this. Can you please kindly put it up for Pesach?
Okay. HaMechatech min ha'or, kedei la'asos k'mei ha'chayev. V'hu she'yischaven le'midas orkoi v'midas rachboi v'yachtech b'kavona shehi malacha. So the Rambam makes it clear, Ein HaMechatech chayev. It's Perek Yud Aleph we're looking for, not Perek Zayin. Perek Yud Aleph in the Rambam, Halacha Zayin. Here we are. HaMechatech minu or kedei la'asos k'mei chayev. And then the Rambam, in the continuation of this halacha, hakoitem esa kanaf, areze told us Mechatech v'chayev, v'chein ha-megared roshe klansois, chayev mishum Mechatech, v'chein kol chaticha, shiach toch charash eitz, oi eitzem, o charash matechet. All these are told us Mechatech. The Av is or, because that is what they did in the Mishkan, by the oiris that were used to cover the Mishkan. So Ayin Daled Omid Beis, and when Reb Shlomo was sitting at the other side of my table, I briefly listened to some of his Hachanah shir, and he started off with the Gemara Daf Ayin Daled Omid Beis, Haiman de Solet Silta. Chayev mishum toichen, Omer Ravashi, ikoped amishchasa, chayev mishum Mechatech. So, what does it mean, ikoped amishchasa? If he has intention to the exact measurements, and this is unique to Mechatech. Two people do exactly the same thing. They're both cutting hide. They're both cutting paper. They're both cutting a garment. They do exactly the same thing. One is Porta, one is Chayev. Because the Gemara says, Ikoped amishchasa chayev mishum Mechatech. It is the same thing that the Toichen is doing. Solet Selta. One is chayev mishum Toichen, the other mishum Mechatech. Why? Because the one that cuts to fit a certain measurement, that is Mechatech. Now, I need to take 5 minutes to give a general introduction, a gewaldige chiddush that we find, and I don't think the Achronim has many other sugyas in Minchas Oshem and Sechet Shabbos. Well, some of the great Gedolim were aware of this Chiddush, but I didn't see anybody to bring together 10 sources. We do find in Hilchos Shabbos sometimes intent is everything. And when you do a certain act without the kavanah to achieve a result, usually it's defined as a Dovashem Eschavin. Sometimes it's not a Malocha at all. Beyond that, you have kavanah to do the specific act, but you don't have kavanah to the essence of the Malacha. Sometimes it's defined as the Hashem Eschavin, sometimes it's not defined as the Malacha at all, and I'm going to give 4 examples. Minchas Rosh Hashanah, Siman Gimel, Siman Lamed Gimel, Siman Samach Aleph. I spoke about this, you cited 3 different sources. So some of you, might have access to my Sefer and they will want to supplement today's sheet and go to a greater in-depth study. So I'm just giving you the Mara Mekoimis. 3 different sources in Minchas Rosh Gimel. That I say Lamed Gimel and Samach Aleph, and 3 different sources. Let me give you 4 examples. First, Makkah Bepat.
Little Simonim in the
Minchas Rosh in the second Shabbos.
Shabbos Sefer.
Yeah. So, Makkah Bepatish. Sukkah Lamed Gimel and Beis. We learn if you have a Hodos, but the Hodos is possible because Anovav Merubin Ma'alav. Today is a comfortable world. I assume that in the very near future, you no longer will buy lulav, hadassah, maravis. You're going to buy a package set with a kaisala, everything tied up. Maybe they do so already in America. We didn't get there in Israel, but I assume that in the very near future, people don't like to work. And they don't understand the importance of investing toil in mitzvahs, of preparing your mitzvahs. When I was young, my mother used to kasher chickens. I don't know anyone today, any Eishes Chayim that kashers chickens. I have 6 daughters and 1 daughter-in-law. None of them knows what it is to kasher a chicken. But our mother's dead. So I assume in the very near future, you're going to buy a set. Lulav, Hodes, Arava, with the koshelo, with the tabot, with the rings. So, once upon a time, you cut a Hodes off the tree, and a Hodes has like little grapes, little purple covered fruit. Those little fruits are not edible, but they passel the Arava. Hoyo Anova Merubin Ma'alav. It's not a Hodos. Naturally, we're talking about a Hodos, not by a Rova. By mistake, I said it another. It passes the Hodos. However, Likton kosher, if you pluck off those little purple-looking little fruits, little grapes, then it's kosher. But you're not allowed to do that on Yom Tov because it's a metaken mona and it's Makkah bepatish. But the Gemara says, if you have proper adasim, but you also have a hodos with grapes, and you want to eat those grapes, there's no problem plucking them off. You're kashering the hodos, but it's not your intention. Because you have a kosher hodos. You have no intention to use this hodos. Okay, great. Modern world. These look like blackberries. But any better. So these are the little fruits.
Rav actually seen them?
Oh, yeah, of course, many times.
On a hodos? Really?
I have a hodos tree in my backyard.
Look at that.
So I see them all the time.
Can I come get a das of beer before you get?
You could get it, but it's not hefker because it doesn't have kiddush spheres. But I'll be happy if you take some. I use my hadassim for the summer mitzvah Shabbos.
Yeah.
It's not mishulish, so it's not kosher for sukkahs. But anyway, so if you pluck off those little grapes because you want to kasher the hodos, that's a the rice of Makkah Bepatish. If you want to eat them, and you have no need for this others, it is not defined as a malacha at all. So in Makabeh Patish, we find this principle. Sometimes the intention makes the malacha. If you have no intention and no need, even though factually you kasher the horas, and theoretically, if your horas will become puzzle, you have another one with kosher, but that was not your intention. It's not a malacha. This is example number one. Sometimes kavana is the essence of the malacha. Number two, Shulchan Aruch HaRav, Shin Beis, Kunta Sachran, Sivkot Nalev. Before the Shulchan Aruch HaRav, Shitta Mekabet says Daf Hayomid Beis, Meleches Soiveya. In the normal course of events, we do many things that aren't Soiveya. But the Shitta Mekabet says, Ksuba say, Shulchan Aruch HaRav say, when there is no need for this Tzviya, it's not defined as Tzviya at all. Tzviya Tzviya she'enim eskeyemis is an isit rabbanan. So if you spit on wood, you change the color of the wood. Enim eskayim, but why wouldn't that be an isit rabbanan at least? Because you have no intention to Tzviya, and there's no benefit to that Tzviya. Factually, you change the color of something, but it means nothing. No benefit, neither to you, anyone else. That is not defined as Meleches Soveya. And that explains the Gemara Ayin Eyom Beis, which we quoted a week ago. A week ago, we had this big share about one Weiss and two different Malachas. So one of the sources was Shoichet Mishu Mai Mechayev. Rav says Soveya. Shmuel says Natilus Neshama. And the Gemara says, Soveya b'may nichalei. B'may nichalei. Ki hechid litvas beis hashchita v'likvatzei alei zavina. So the Gemara asks, what benefit does the shaychet have by the beis hashchita turning red? What's the shaila? And if he doesn't have benefit, so what? So it's either a malacha shem sicha legifa or a dova shem eschaven, which is a psiklation. So why do we need benefit? So a week ago, I quoted the Kiryas Sefer. If you do two malachas in one act, then you need kavana. But we rejected the Kiryas Sefer at the end of the year. So this is very well explained with the Shulchan Aruch HaRav and Shitta Mekabetzes, because if there is no benefit to it, that would not be defined as Surveya. Surveya is only if there is some benefit. So that's example number two. Makabeh Patish, Sukkah Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, Shabbos Ayin Hey Omid Beis, and now a slightly different concept. We mentioned a week ago, but just briefly mentioned, and I do not recall whether we ever spoke about this Barichas and Baruch Hashem, these 2 years that we're sharing Divrei Torah. The Machlekes Taisus and the Orach Psik Reisha de Lo Nichalei. The Orach maintains Psik Reisha de Lo Nichalei is mutar lechatchila, because it goes back to being a Dova Shem Eschaven. Dova Shem Eschaven is mutar. When Abaye v'Rava say Psik Reisha de Lo Nichalei Chayet, Prik Seisha Chayet, Psik Reisha de Lo Yomes, it is only a Psik Reisha de Nichalei. That's the opinion of the Orach. Toisus is Choylik. One of the kashas Toisus asks on the Orach is Mapis Mursa. Why is a Mapis Mursa Chayiv? He squeezes out the pus to ease the pain of inflammation, of infection. He doesn't have intention of making a Pesach. After Pekin, it's also because it's a Psik Reisha. So Toisus asks, but it's a Psik Reisha de Lo Nichalei. And if a Kiva Egg in Gillian Hashas, maybe we could have Sukkah Vovo Medalef. No Sukkah, Ksubas. Ksubas Vovo Medalef, the big Toisus, Mr. Chayiv de Nazaisa. Ksubas Vovo Medalef. Toisus wants to prove from Mapis Mursa that even a Psik Reisha de Lo Nichalei is Chayiv. Lo Kedivrei Oruch. And Rabbi Kiva Egg in Gillian Hashas wonders, If you want to squeeze out the fluids, is it called pus? Still, probably there's a nicer name. So when we were kids, it was pus. Today, probably it has a Latin scientific definition. So when you squeeze that, I think we can go straight to the Akiva Eiger and Gilead and Shas. We don't even need to go into the depth of Tosfos. I just want to show you.
Scroll down, Pesach. Scroll down. Gilead and Shas is further down.
See it on this page.
On this page.
Just one more. Did I ever tell you the story about a blaze of silver giving a shear somewhere and he quoted the daf? He was a genius, a Buki B'Shas. And a Bukhar had the chutzpah of interjecting and saying, it's not daf, ayin hey, it's daf ayin vav. The blaze of silver insisted, it's daf ayin hey. And the Bukhar had a huge chutzpah pulling out a Gemara and showing the blaze of silver, it's daf ayin vav, not daf ayin hey. The blaze of silver looked and he said, in my shas, which I have at home, it's daf ayin hey. So, in my shas, it was Gilead and Shas on the daf. Rabbi Akiva Eiger decided to move, and he moved to another location. So obviously, it's in Rabbi Akiva Eiger and not in Gilead and Shas on this spot, which to me is a surprise, but I apologize many times. Before I give a shir, I not always have time to look up all the sources, and I do rely on my memory, and my memory many times fails me and disappoints me. I'm just human. So, but it definitely is a kasha of Rabbi Akiva Eiger, and Rabbi Akiva Eiger argues, when you press that abscess to get the pus out, you're aware that if you don't puncture that abscess, the pus can't get out. So he definitely has kavanah to make a Pesach. Because otherwise, how would the pus get out? So why is this a Dov Hashem Eschaben? So I explain, yes, not always intention to the Maisa is defined as intention for the Malacha. And sometimes there's a distinction. Asiyas a Pesach, Kishmoy Kenhu. It is Melech's Baina. It's a door. So yes, if you have intention to make a Pesach la'aklis or la'hoitzi, it's a huge leap and extension of Pesach. But if all your intention is to get the pus out, yes, I am aware. If there's not going to be a puncture, the pus just can't get out. But that is not defined as a davar ha'mischav and asiyas Pesach. Yes, technically, he wants to make a hole. But not always is a hole a Pesach. And a hole is not always defined as a Pesach legabe maleches boina or maleches makeh bepatish. So, this is different than the first two sources. The first two sources, Tzaveya and the Hadas, without intention, it's B'chlal not a Malacha. Source number 3, which we just quoted, without intention, it's a Malacha, but it's a Dov Hashem Eschaben. And we need the concept of Sikreisha. Similarly, Kuv Gimel Amadalaf. Hamazaret Zrodim V'atoy L'Shulshin. And that's the Gemara we also dealt with last week. So the Gemara says, if you clean away your yard and you tear out the weeds and the grass, if it's your yard and you have benefit because you want to plant there, then Chayiv Shtayim. koitza, and choirish. If it's ara de chavrei, and you have no benefit, so the Hashem is chana. And the Orach wants to prove from the sugya psikreishe de lo nichale mutar. Once again, why is it the Hashem is chana? He has intention of clearing the yard. He doesn't have intention to plant because it's not his yard. But he clearly wants to clear the yard, and that is why he's tearing out the roots. That is not enough. If he doesn't have intention or benefit to plant, that would be defined as the Hashem is chana. He has intent to do the ma'aser, but the ma'aser is not always defined as the malacha. So, I took you somewhere else. We almost forgot about machatach, but we're coming right back home. So I gave 4 examples. Sometimes intention is necessary to justify the act as a malacha. Or the other example, to define the act as a davaramischaven. But machatach is unique. It is different than all the sources I just quoted, because by machatach, you need intention for a measurement. And there's nothing similar in any other malacha. You're cutting, and you're cutting to your benefit. But this is unique by machatach. I koped amishchasa chayev mishum machatach. Only mido. And you're cutting to your benefit. That is not enough. You need to have intention to cut in a precise measurement. How precise does it need to be? Very precise. Rabbeinu Chananel, in our fundamental sugya, ayin dalad omid beis, ikoped amishchasa. Let's have a look at Rashi. Ikoped amishchasa, ayin dalad omid beis, lechotchron bemido. Let's have a look on the spot, Rabbeinu Chananel. So Baruch Hashem, Rabbeinu Chananel did not decide to move to another location. And I'm very grateful for that.
Excuse me 1 second. Pesach, put the Gemara back. We have the Rach on the Gemara. Yeah.
Im chaben lachtoich elo silta zeres I hope they hear me better than what we hear.
That's me. I'm going to take it off.
Do you hear me? Okay, do we have Rabbeinu Chananel?
We have Rabbeinu Chananel on, and we hear the Rav perfectly.
Elo asilto zeres. Oirech kol echad ve'echad. He spoke about a zeres, which is a very small measurement. Your little finger. Rabbeinu Chananel also says amo. And could you please take a Mishnah Berurah, Chelek Hey. Right there. You see the Mishnah Berurah? Right where you're standing. Cross your face. Chelek Hey. So in Hilchos Yom Tov, Siman Tov Kuf Tes Seif Gimel. I'm just reading the Lashon of the Mechaber. So, Oifes Shemamar and Eisem Bosa Bebetzen, Mutter Latofram Beyamta, Viushi Attackam Beyerev Yamta Vachut Viesemenu Bamachad, Vieser Shalo Yachtech Achut Beyamta. And what would be the Isser to cut the Chut on Yamtev? Mishnah Berurah. Lasses Oisikafi Medosa Dahave Bakral Tikun Kli. And why not Mechatach? You're cutting the thread. Why not Machatach? Mishnah Berurah says Tikun Kli. Tikun Kli is an Issa D'Rabbanan, not an Issa D'Oraisa. Because you don't need an exact measurement. Yes, you're cutting the thread. You know, you want to stitch a chicken, you know, a part of the chicken and have the rice in there. So you don't want a thread that's 10 meters long.
They don't know what stitching a chicken means.
Okay, neither do I. But so, and you know, this is a dish everybody is familiar with. You know, you fill a chicken with rice.
And then they sewed it back together.
Yeah, they sewed it back. Once upon a time, they sewed it back. So the Ramah says, you got to cut the thread before Yom Tov, because if you do it on Yom Tov, it's Tikkun Kli. Tikkun Kli is only Nisa D'Rabbanan. Why is it Mechatach? Because you don't need an exact measurement. So Mechatach is only Zeres Zeres, Amo, a precise measurement. However, let's turn a page. Ayin Hey Amud Beis. Hashav Beina Amudim B'Shabbos Chayev Mishum Memachek. Hamegarer Roshei Kolonses B'Shabbos Chayev Mishum Mechatech. We're dealing with planks of wood. Hamegarer Roshei Kolonses B'Shabbos Chayev Mishum Memachek. Planks of wood, you cut them on the top because you want them to be exactly the same height. Rashi, Hamagar Roshi Kolon says, Shurashem Shovin V'chadin. Now, he doesn't know the measurements. So it's not inches or centimeters or feet or meters. But he just wants them all to be the same. So you put planks of wood and then he cuts them on the top. That is also mechatech. Mido doesn't necessarily mean measurements. It means cutting with precision. You want them to have an exact shape and you want them all to be the same height, same measurement. That is also lefi mido. That is considered a measurement. So it is either when you know exactly.
Why isn't that measurement? You're cutting it, you want everyone to be 6 feet high. So that is measurement.
Yeah. I just want to point out, he doesn't know that it's 6 feet and he doesn't care that it's 6 feet.
Doesn't have a ruler.
He doesn't have a ruler. He's not cutting based on fixed measurements. It's not feet or meters or centimeters or inches.
Equal.
But equal. And he wants all those planks to be the same size. That once again would be mechatech. It is the same, but I'm just pointing out an akuda, which is an akuda of importance. What are the limitations to meleches mechatech? Number one, ein chituch b'mechubel hakarka. And that is not found in the Gemara, but the HaRav makes it clear in Shin Dalet Zayin. Because Mechatech, in a way, like all the other Melechos, needs to be similar to the Mishkan. And Mechatech and the Mishkan was Eires. It is clear in the Gemara, doesn't need to be hide. It could be Gedule Karka. It could be what is not Gedule Karka. Eires are the hides from animals. But we saw in the Gemara Rosh Klansos, that's wood. Ayin Daladom Beis, Haimanda Ovet Chalsa, Konim. So Mechatech could be anything. Last week we mentioned the Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi defines what's the difference between Mechatech and Korea. Korea is soft, and Mechatech is more harder stuff. And in Bavli we do not find this distinction. And the place can say Mechatech is even with paper, as soft as it might be. Korea and Mechatech would refer to the same materials, but they're different. Mechatech is lefi mido, and that is unique with Mechatech. And Mechatech would be chayiv, even though the conditions of Korea were not met. It is not Korea almenas litfoyom. Korea has its own rules. So 2 weeks ago, I mentioned HaRav, Korea's only thread, only by begodim. The Mishnah Berurah disagrees. But nevertheless, Mechatech is not chayav b'mechuber karka, and the Mishnah Berurah Shin Chov Beis Yivkot Miut Ches says Mechatech is not chayav b'oichlin. And that is based on Beis Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. And, when we make a salad and we cut vegetables, there is no machatach. We always deal with toichin, if it's very small pieces. Ein chituch ba'oichlin. There are a few malachas in which we have the principle they're not noig ba'oichlin. Ein ibud ba'oichlin, ein machatach ba'oichlin. Neither is there korea ba'oichlin. So these are the limitations. Boina, for instance, is noig even ba'oichl. So
Makapatrish is a machlokes.
Makapatrish is a big machlokes. I think we discussed it by Kuyas Rispanan. The Gemara says Gemar Marachton, but Rashi and all the other Rishonim, including the Rambam, say Mevasho. Okay, so we explained the fundamentals. Now we need to learn the Rambam, which is very, very complicated. Very short. Tzorech Perush lePirushoy. We're coming back to Zion, Halacha Zion, Perik Yud Aleph. Hamachatech min haor kedei lasas kamei chayev, hu she'yischaven hamidasorka b'midasrach boy, v'yachtach b'kavona shehi malacha. What do these four words mean? V'yachtach b'kavona shehi malacha. But even before that, what is the defining factor? Which machatech is an av and which is a tolda? The Rambam makes it clear. Oyer, machatech is a oyer, is a av. That is machatech. Akoitem is a knaf, tolda is machatech. And all the rest in Halacha Zayin are toldois. A machatech min ha'or, that is the av. I saw some achronim arguing the av malacha is only she'yischaven lemidas orkoi v'midas rachboi. Exact measurements, length and width. The other examples that we have is not exact measurements, length and width. I think that's a mistake. When the Rambam writes she'yischaven lemidas orkoi v'midas rachboi, it's either or. Measurement. I don't think that is the point. I think the difference is or is an av. Other materials are toldos. Maybe or v'hadoim eloi, which are flexible, not wood, not metals. Maybe that is why they're toldos. But I want to focus on the four words in the Rambam. So the Rambam already said, "V'hu she'yischaven lemidas orkoi u'midas rachboi." What does he add on the yachtich b'kavona shehi malach? Obviously, he wants to exclude avalam chotach derech hefsed o beloi kavona lemidasoi beloi kavon lemidasoi. Elo misasakoi kemisachek harei ze potur or mutar. Potur or mutar. Well, if you don't have intention for a measurement, it's mutar. But the Rambam writes potur. And this entire Lashon is a mystery. V'yachtorch b'kavona shehi malacha. Aval amchotach derech hefsed, o beli kavona lemidosoi, elo kimisasek o kimisachek. Kimisasek o kimisachek, is that the opposite of kavona lemidosoi? Why would that be? My understanding of the Rambam is sometimes you are mechaven to a certain measurement, but not really because you need that measurement. And that's what the Rambam says. Kimesachek or kimesasek. You do intend to cut at a certain spot. However, it's not really because you need this measurement. So sometimes cutting lefi midasoi is just a technicality. It's just coincidental. That is not machatach. What the Rambam means to stress is hamachatach she'eschaven midas arkoi midas rachaber means that this is the size you want. But sometimes there's a possibility of, yes, I did intend to cut certain size, but not really because I have any need for this size. And that could either be derech hefsed, derech misased, derech schoik. Even that is not machat, even though he is machamel and midas oracle. And that's what the Rambam means. When you have in mind to cut a certain size, it is because this is the size you want. This is the size you need. And that is the essence of machat. What is the nafkamin al halacha? Toilet paper. And this is Shmir Shabbos Kechosa and many others. And sometimes it happens, you find yourself at home without tissues, without Shabbos toilet paper. And this is Kvoida Brias. So what are you supposed to do? So in the days of Chazal, they went down in the backyard and they took some pebbles, some stones. We're too finicky to do that. In the days in which they carried silkworms in their armpits, they used stones in the bathroom. Since we stopped carrying silkworms in our armpits, we also don't use rocks or stones to clean ourselves. So you find yourself without wipes, without tissue, without Shabbos toilet paper. So could you tear the perforated rolls of toilet paper? Would that be machatach? I say no. Well, you're cutting in a certain measurement, but it's not because I need this size. It's just a technicality, to make it more convenient and more and easier. This is just, in the modern world, manufacturers want to make every product as user-friendly as possible. So it's perforated. So you don't need to tear.
Mutter?
I think it's not defined as machatach. It goes back to the question of Klereya, because that would be a kriyas tikkun. According to Shulchan Aruch HaRav, there would be no koreya. I don't think it's machatach. Als machatach, I would be matter, because it fits into the Rambam. I don't need this measurement. It's not that I need this size. You're going to use 10 sheets anyway. So to you, it make no difference whether it's 3 centimeters or more or less. It's just a technicality. That's how the manufacturer sells it. It's perforated. That is not machatach. Machatach is only if I cut certain measurement because that is the measurement I want. And that is the Rambam. V'hu she'achaven shehi malocha. If I cut, I did have in mind to cut a certain size, but it's kimisasek, toilet paper, that is kimisasek. I don't need this size. It makes no difference to me a little bigger, a little smaller. That is not even though factually, he's cutting a certain size, but it's not because this is the size he wants. That would not be machatach. So I don't know in America, but in Israel, when they sell yogurts, they usually sell sets of 4 or 6, and they're, there is a perforation, they're attached, and you just break them open, you break them apart. Would that be machatach or not? Once again, many Gedolim argued yes. Reb Shimon Zalman, quoted by his great Talmud, Reb Shimon says no, because it's not the precise size that you need. Once again, it's a technicality. So the manufacturer is easier to package and to carry if you have 6 together or 8 together. And you don't need to carry and pick up every one and put them in your basket. So before you eat those yogurts, it's a matter of convenience, just break them apart. But you don't really have a kpeda to a certain size. That is machatach. And this goes for caps, whether it's screw caps or it's those pachiot. What's pachiot?
Little containers.
No, not containers.
Little juice boxes.
Yeah. Cans.
Oh,
yeah.
canned. Oh, packets, I guess.
Drinks.
Sorry.
You know, drinks. You say you buy a can of Coke.
Soda cans. Yeah.
So there's you have like a little ring and you just put it open and you open up a Pesach, which is Meduya. So a few weeks ago, we made it clear that according to Moshe Chroinim, that would not be Makeh B'Patish. Why? Because when you empty out the content of that can, you throw it away. And that is the din of Chodesh of Tamorim. Would it be Machatach? Would it be Machatach? You're cutting it to an exact size, but it's a technicality. You don't necessarily need precisely that size. I assume that the manufacturers did have some science and planning the shape of your mouth, and it should fit in. You don't want to spill it on your shirt, and you don't want to
gulp it. He said,
what?
He said your ability to gulp it down.
Okay, the quantity that'll come out, your ability to gulp it down. I don't know, but the person doesn't have intention to a certain size. It doesn't matter to him if it'll be, a millimeter longer or a millimeter wider or less. It's a technicality, which is actually imposed on us by the manufacturers, whether it's toilet paper or cans or open up screw caps. So I saw some Gedolim writing, when you break off the bottom, that's lefi mido. It is not lefi mido. It's just a matter of convenience. And that's the way they come. But you have no intention and you have no interest. Sorry. Oh, that's cool. Usually I have some heavier spawn there. Okay.
Rebecca, I see your logos here. You're on. Just put, yeah. Okay. Sorry, Weiss. Okay. Somebody points out that in America they give you 5 cents for the cans. So we recycle it.
Really?
Yeah. It's a big business. The homeless go around off the street picking up cans.
We recycle bottles, but we don't recycle metal cans. There's tin cans.
Yes,
really?
Cans, yeah.
Okay, that's because of the greens, the ecology. I don't think that would make a difference because for your point of view, you're throwing it away. The fact that they will recycle it, but that's an interesting point. So, do you see me and hear me? Because we got disconnected and I connected again. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, so in my opinion, I just want to once again stress the last Nakuda we spoke. I think when the Rambam says, "Amachatach v'hushi eschaven amidas orko amidas orkoi," and he adds on, "V'yachtoich b'kavona shehi malacha." Aval im chotach derech hefsed or beloi kavona l'midos ele k'mesasek or k'mesachik, which means he actually is cutting lefi mido, but he doesn't really need that mido. He doesn't have the kavanah to have that certain measurement. The fact that he's cutting lefi mido is k'mesasek or k'mesachik. That is not malachas machatach, and therefore, in every case in which actually I'm tearing in an exact measurement, but it's not because that is what I need and that is what I want, that would not be malachas machatach. And I agree with Reb Shlomo Zalman regarding those cans or even toilet paper. That is not machatach because it doesn't really matter to me the exact size. It's just a technicality, and therefore not be machatach. So
let's assume in the old days the tissues were connected.
And also, what about the perforation that you need to open up the bag to get to the connector?
So once again,
these were unconnected.
So one of the things I showed this to the other one.
Yeah.
Actually, the back's in the tissue.
Okay. So we have a tissue with the hefsher of that, which means if you're very hungry, you can eat a tissue and you don't need to worry.
Even Pesach?
I know it doesn't say the Pesach. So maybe this actually means that the tissues aren't connected, so you don't have a problem of koreya. Maybe machatech, but as I explained, I don't think it would be machatech, it would be a question of koreya. Now, the opening, once again, you need a shape. You don't need a size. I do not think that would be machatech. Machatech needs to be lefi midah. And the midah really doesn't matter to you. Could be bigger, could be smaller.
You have to get tissue out.
The midah is imposed on you by the manufacturer. And because I explained at the beginning of this year that we need a precise measurement, zeres, amma, but if you're cutting thread, you have an approximate size, that is not enough for machatech. And therefore, these tissue boxes, in America, it's more popular the cardboard ones, I think. In shuls, they always do the cardboard ones. Here, we like the plastic ones. But both have a precise size of an opening, which, once again, I do not think that would be machatech. The perforation is made by the manufacturer, and it really doesn't make a difference to you the exact size, being it bigger or smaller. And once again, I do think probably they did research, because in the modern consumer world, everything is researched. So you want it big enough to be able to pull out a tissue and not have everything come out, but that is not machatech, because you don't really have intention to a specific size. So opening a tissue box, based on the principles we discussed 2 weeks ago, would not be makav patish. The question we will need to deal with would be machatech. It would not be machatech in my opinion, and for various different reasons, wouldn't be koreya either. So these are the fundamental questions that we deal with, and what I tried to make clear today is the concept of machatech, which is unique between all the other malachas, that if you don't have integrity to a certain measurement at a certain exact size, it would not be defined as malachas machatech at all. Okay, so this is our share for today. Thank you for being with me. Next week, Sunday, Reb Shlomo, I'm scheduled to be in Europe. I'm not going to be around next week, Sunday. So either we could record something, or
we'll do it. Okay, everybody say the first thing, if somebody could open my video, Mordechai or Pesach,